the studio setup, the new studio. So this is going to be an introduction video to a series of videos I'd like to do where we take a look at the uniforms and heraldry of the individual city-states in the empire. And this is something I used to do by painting specific models using the colors and showing you how I would interpret those colors on the tabletop. And because I don't have my studio completely reset up the way I want it to be, I'm going to use this as a launching pad to just delve more into the look, the feel, the character. Take a look at this Uniforms and Heraldry book a little bit more. It's such a shame that Warhammer only had a couple of armies get this treatment. I believe it was the Empire, the Skaven, the High Elves. I think that was all that got this hardcover treatment. The rest, I think, had some how to paint guides. When Age of Sigmar came out, I remember there was a Orruks guide, Wood Elves, or I guess they became known as the Sylvaneth, and then a bunch for Warhammer 40K. They were trying to do so many different things. But this was back when they thought, hey, why don't we introduce a series of books, hardcover, with lots of great John Blanche art. I believe this is John Blanche. And go into all of the different factions and the colors and the look and the feel of the different units that you can have in your army. This was the great thing about collecting Warhammer. You could have an army that looks completely different from the person that could be collecting the same army in your local gaming club. So the reason I want to do this video also is because I received this in the mail, and it is from one of my commission clients that I've known for many, many years. It's going to be a treat to unbox and open, but it's I want to make sure that this setup works, doing a live stream on it, and that there's enough space to really dive into it and look at it. And yeah, I mean, looking at the setup right now, it seems like there's not enough room. I don't think if I zoom out, it's going to look any better. I'm crammed here in the little corner of the garage and just hoping that everything looks and sounds good. All right, so soon, my pretties, we will get into what is in this box and unbox that and all of its awesome glory. But this live stream, we're going to be talking about the Empire. Definitely one of my favorite armies in Warhammer Fantasy. Oh man, what a great army. You had so many different units, from the blocks of infantry to the artillery to the handgunners, crossbowmen. So many great units that you could play on the field, and then they went all cartoony with the Demigryph Knights and the giant war altars and the Griffin. Then it became really cartoony. But back when the Empire was first brought back into focus, when they were re-releasing it with a bunch of new models in plastics, and the versatility of having an Empire army, it was so great to see them on the battlefield, because Warhammer Fantasy was a game all about big magic, heroes, fantasy, lizardmen, orcs and goblins, undead, and here you had the regular man, the regular human that would put on a suit of armor and grab a weapon and go up against these ungodly creatures and magic and all of that crazy stuff. So we're gonna pay respect to the Empire. Oh man, may it rest in peace. Hopefully it comes back. I love the Empire, one of my favorite armies in Warhammer Fantasy, and we're gonna take a look at the beginning of this book. I did do an unbooking of this many years ago, many years ago, but the unfortunately, I think, because my life has changed so much, we're gonna look at it again. So here we go. Hardcover, so great. Oh man, if you can pick this up on eBay or somewhere, I would definitely suggest it. We're only gonna look at the beginning today, and if this live stream goes well, then we'll do more videos like it in the future. It's got great art all around. Look at the pages; they look like that weathered parchment. You've got that border artwork. It's just so gorgeous, you guys. It really makes it look like something out of a medieval piece of literature. Of course, that characteristic hammer. the Empire. All right. And then at the beginning, you've got this great shot of the general leading the men to war and how proud and resplendent they all are. So here we go. Welcome to the Uniforms and Heraldry of the Empire. This book has been compiled to aid collectors, miniature painters, wargamers, and anybody who has an interest in the Empire and its armies. The information in these pages will certainly inspire and inform, but it is by no means complete or wholly definitive. The one thing I do knock this book on, and all the Games Workshop releases like it, all of the how-to paint guides, they're basically just paint templates. You're going to be looking at a bunch of the same figures changed a little bit artistically over and over, but they look pretty much the same standard posing, and you're just looking at different colors on their uniforms. I think the way to go, they could have even assigned this to different painters in their studio at Games Workshop. They don't even have to be heavy metal worthy, or, you know, make it open, have people make it a thing where you would announce it and have a contest, or I don't know, just have people submit your best painted Empire troops, and then you could be featured in here. Because looking at this, cartoons, not even really that well shaded or colored, is not as inspiring and titillating as it would be to have actual miniatures that have these colors. That's why, I mean, that's why you guys watch my videos, right? Or you watch any Warhammer painting tutorials or tutorials on YouTube to see how people paint the miniatures. But yeah, that's the one thing I don't really care about these books. I think they made a mistake. They could have capitalized on how much people love miniatures and painting and collecting by having the actual miniatures painted in this way. Okay, so here's a little bit of history of the Empire. It just talks about how it was formed, the brief history of it, how it's basically a collection of city-states, and each of the city-states, because of the culture and the history, they have gotten their character and their flavor throughout the centuries, very distinct, individual, just like real life. Different countries have different cultures and the things that make them unique. Also, because of where the Empire sits and what mountains and bad places border them on all sides, that also defines the character of the Empire. For example, the Rakeland here, they're protected by the mountains here, and the Rakeland is where Carroburg is. I'm trying to find where it is. You got Midland there, Talabheim, Hochland. I couldn't remember where the bread basket was. Okay, I'll use this as an example. The Moot. This is where halflings live. They're like it's like the Shire, right? All the halflings are nestled here, nice and safe, protected by Stirlin, protected by Averlin. They're in a nice little pocket here where they're not really threatened by invasion from other directions. And that's why the halflings, I believe, in this Warhammer setting get to be a little bit more relaxed and not as war. You know, halflings are generally, like hobbits, are generally relaxed, happy-go-lucky. They enjoy life, and they're not really warlike as much as the men of the Empire. So a great thing about this map too is okay, I'm going to talk about a con to this map. I've seen so many better maps drawn of the Empire. There are so many great maps of the Empire out there. And this map is just like very flat with the coloring and the shading, the graphics. There are some great maps in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay where you see like the forests colored green, the different regions have the rivers, and there are a bunch of different details in the maps. This map, these details, they're not as they're not as interesting to look at. If you copied the map from a Warhammer Fantasy roleplay source book, threw it in here, it would have made it so much more interesting. And Games Workshop they have the license. This is their property. Why would you not try to get more people interested in your faction by having an amazing, well-drawn, detailed map that looks like something from the Middle Ages? I mean, the way it looks now, it's kind of boring, you know? So, all right, we'll take a look at the different standards. One of my pet peeves about standards is that they look great when they're on the page like this. And back in the day, for those of you who don't remember the 90s and being able to field armies with banners, your figures would have, their standard bearer would be just a guy holding a pole, a metal pole. And in the White Dwarf pages, or in your army book, in your codex, you would have a section in the back that had banners like this. And what they would do would would be to tell you to go and print it out, either on paper or some kind of heavy paper. You couldn't do it on cardstock. It would be too thick to put onto the model, but they would say, oh yeah, just print it out, color print it, and cut it out and put it on your model. And I used to do that. And it never turned out good. It always looked really cheap and paper-y. And then Games Workshop started sculpting the banners, and then that solved that problem. All right, let's move on to the next page. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I mean, I'm seeing, I thought I enabled chat, but I'm not really seeing anybody saying anything. So it could be that I haven't set it up correctly somehow, or I'm not seeing the chat anywhere. But if you guys are there and this is live and you are seeing me, then yeah, say hello, so I know that it's working and the setup is okay. All right, so this is just basically a description and a look at the components of an Imperial soldier. And this is a halberdier, obviously, but it does explain the different parts of his armor. I don't think I've ever used the word bevor or tacit. I think I would just say the leg armor, or yeah, the gorget, the neck armor, the helmet, the breastplate, leggings, leather boots, and yeah. So it talks a little bit about how there's no real rule governing how, where, or in what proportions the colors are to be used. Every region of the empire has their colors, and you can tell where a soldier comes from because of the colors of their uniform. If you look at some provinces that are more well-to-do, like Altdorf, then you might see men who have full uniforms that look real nice and crisp. And then in other areas like Stirland, you have a lot more poor regions that the men don't have access to as much uniform. So you might just see they're wearing a shirt that's one of the colors, but the rest of their outfit is their peasant clothes, or they might have a bandana or something that represents the colors of their uniform, but they're really too poor to even afford a uniform themselves. Then it talks a little bit about shield colors and makeups. This is something that nobody really taught me when I was starting to paint. I remember when I first started painting miniatures, you would get a metal miniature with a plastic shield, and this was before transfers were really that big of a thing in my local community, at least. People just didn't expect you to paint your shields. But you could paint your shield and you could paint a design on it. But what would be more interesting, I remember when I first started collecting empires, is that you could do quarters like this, or half the shields. Okay, and then you would get more fancy with the icons. So once you would do a quartered shield as a backdrop, then you would put a transfer on top, or if you really want to be daring, freehand some of these designs. The only tricky thing with that is that if you're doing a block of 100 swordmen and all of them have identical shields, you're going to have to be replicating that. All right, the last thing we're going to take a look at here before we wrap this video up is the personal coat of arms for Emperor Karl Franz, who was the last emperor before the world blew up. And his symbols were the griffin, the KF, very prominent, and obviously the crown His colors red, yellow, and blue. Very cool. That KF looks so awesome. I wish I could replicate that. That's a really, really cool design. And the sad thing is most of these designs, they don't come on the transfer sheets. You're gonna have to freehand paint them yourself. Like I don't remember there being in the human transfer sheets a griffin holding a hammer. This is something you have to paint by yourself, hand paint them. And that KF is such a great design. Man, I really love all the different iterations of it. The more I see it, the more I'm like, they should have put that on the transfer sheets for the Plastic Empire troops. Looks awesome. And then you've got the different elector counts. So elector counts are basically the rulers of the different provinces. And they're all kind of similar. They all have the similar motifs, the helmet, the shield as a backdrop, and the Templar's cross. You see that a bunch repeated. It's funny is because you don't really see too much of the colors of the different regions. Like Oslan is black and white with an accent of red, but yeah, Nordland is blue and yellow. Yeah, I mean, I guess you do. Like Middenland is blue and white. I guess they integrated into the color scheme. Okay, and then it gets into the different provinces and the regions. So we'll take a look at that in another video. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. But that's just an introduction of what this book has to offer. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. I don't know why I haven't seen any comments. Maybe people are just dipping in and dipping back out. If you can hear me okay, please let me know. And I don't know, maybe it could be the reception out here in the garage could be really bad too. So I'm gonna have to take a look at this and see if there's anything on my end that I'm not doing right. But I hope you guys are doing well out there. This is my first attempt at doing one of these long form ramble videos. I've got more coming up, hopefully, that I can do some models that I've been wanting to unbox for a long time that I haven't been able to. So I hope you stick around for that, and definitely stick around for the big unboxing from one of my commission clients that I just received. Super excited for that. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Stay safe, stay painting, be productive. Hope you have a great day and are very, very creative in all of your artistic endeavors. Thanks for visiting me on YouTube.